This is where my story begins. I'm just coming into the centre of Bishop Auckland. It is where my dad caught the eye of my mother. She worked in a shop somewhere on the high street, I don't know where. But you would come into Bishop Auckland on the train from Crook down to here. This is where the station is, and work in a shop here. And my dad was the policeman who would walk up and down and would call into the shop, and I guess would do all the flirting as you do. And as a young Bobby, it would be totally different 60 years ago. In fact, I know it was, because sometime afterwards, after I was born, we would come into Bishop Auckland and we would walk down one side of this street and walk back up the other to where the car was parked. We then come to a little roundabout. And it was just on the left of here. From the stories I've been told, where that building is on the left used to be a cottage hospital. And it was in that cottage hospital, just up here, somewhere in this region here, don't know exactly where, on the 15th of October 1958, I was born. For all I know, I could be riding over exactly where I was born. Well, that's just nuts in the centre of Bishop this morning. But it was over this viaduct that the trains used to come. So as a young boy, I've actually been over this bridge in a steam train from Crook to Bishop and back, and recall quite vividly my grandma telling me to get my head back inside, because I'd stuck my head out the window. Get your head back inside because you'll get soot in your eyes. It's also the same direction and the same viaduct that my grandfather snuck a kiss from my grandmother, without which again I wouldn't be here. I remember her quite excitedly telling me about the kiss that he snuck off her as they went through a tunnel. We're more or less at the foot of Weardale. I didn't move into Weardale after being born, apart from being in Bishop. We then went from up to Easington Lane, Rayton Bridge, Fence Houses, Hortonley Spring. That will be in another story. It's going to be a bit disjointed. But I'm coming along this road for a very specific reason. There we have Crook in the bottom. I guess you could class that as the capital of Weardale. And this is where I spent most of my growing up years. But some 30 years ago, grandfather died, and I came along this road because I was going to see my grandma in the house that, well, I even say today, where I was brought up, because I spent more time here than anywhere else. And I lived in Darlington at the time, or just on the outskirts of Darlington, in a place called Cockerton. And I came along this road and pulled in because I knew I could look over Crook. And I screamed no at the top of my voice because my grandfather had died. And that's him there. John Kell, born 1912, died 1986, 32 years ago. He was my hero. Introduced me to motorbikes in this area, and I'm going to take you on the route that we used to go. There's another plot just there that was for my grandma, but her ashes were scattered on the Wirral, on the golf course. So there is a spare plot. Maybe that's where I should go.